Lawyers of Reddit. What's the most difficult case you've ever had to defend? I never thought my most challenging case would involve my own brother. Let's call him David. He was charged with murdering our cousin, Sarah, someone we both grew up with, someone who was practically a sister to us. The police found Sarah in her apartment, strangled. There were no signs of forced entry, but David's fingerprints were all over the scene. His alibi didn't hold up, and the two of them had been seen arguing at a family gathering the week before. When I got the call from my mother, she was hysterical. David says he didn't do it, she cried. You're a lawyer. You have to help him. I didn't know what to think. David and Sarah had always been close, but I'd heard rumors of tension between them, something about money and an inheritance dispute after our grandmother passed away. When I met David in the holding cell, he looked more broken than I'd ever seen him. I didn't kill her, he said, his voice trembling. You believe me, right? I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the evidence was overwhelming. The trial was a circus. The prosecution painted David as a jealous, desperate man who killed Sarah in a fit of rage. They had text messages showing their arguments over the inheritance, eyewitnesses who'd seen him near her apartment that night, and DNA evidence that tied him to the scene. But then, during the trial, I uncovered something that changed everything. While cross-examining one of the detectives, I found out there was an anonymous tip that had led them to David in the first place, a tip they buried in their files. With some digging, I discovered that Sarah's ex-boyfriend, someone she had a restraining order against, had called the police the night of the murder, claiming David was the killer. It didn't sit right with me. Why would the ex-boyfriend know so much about the crime scene? Why hadn't the police investigated him further? I subpoenaed phone records and surveillance footage, and what I found left me shaken. Sarah's ex had been parked outside her building the night she was killed. The prosecution fought tooth and nail to keep this new evidence out of court, but I managed to get it admitted. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. The jury started to see the holes in the case against David. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for just 2 hours. They found David not guilty. My brother collapsed in relief, and for the first time in months, I saw my mother smile. But here's the thing, I don't know if David was innocent. The ex-boyfriend was never charged. The police claimed there wasn't enough evidence to pursue him. And David? He's never talked about that night. Every family gathering since has felt like walking on eggshells. I saved my brother from life in prison, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to the story, something David isn't telling me. Sometimes, late at night, I lie awake wondering, did I set a guilty man free?